enforcement has been stumped by one of Alaska's longest-running unsolved murder cases for decades, in part because they are unable to link the crime to one of the state's most infamous killers. This story starts in December 1971 in Anchorage, Alaska, about an 18-year-old girl who never came back to her home after leaving to get a soda at the neighborhood convenience shop. On December the 22nd, 1971, Beth Van Zanten was at her home in Anchorage, Alaska, watching a movie with her brothers. She was waiting to begin a babysitting job that she had agreed to that night in her home. Before her client arrived with their child, she decided to run to a nearby buy-low convenience store to buy some soda. The client was expected to arrive in about 30 minutes. Beth set out on foot, but she never came back, nor did she ever reach the store, which was 3 blocks away. That evening, Beth vanished, and for some reason it took 2 whole days for her to be reported missing. Dennis and Gary Lawler, brothers, went to McHugh Creek State Park on Christmas Day in 1971 to take pictures in the wild. Dennis Lawler discovered a steep overlook, a small ledge approximately 20 feet below a picnic area, and the perfect place to take waterfall pictures. He initially believed what he saw to be a snow-covered mannequin thrown behind a bush as he set up his shot. It was a human being's abandoned body, not a mannequin. The body was recovered by state troopers who identified the victim as Celia Beth van Zanten. She was nude from the waist down, with her hands bound with speaker wire and her chest was sliced. Van Zanten had been beaten and attacked, but she had managed to escape at McHugh Creek State Park and run away, only to tumble off a ledge and freeze to death. Therefore, the killer had not entirely murdered her. Residents of Van Zanten's neighborhood and her family were questioned by Anchorage police. The most likely suspect, a foster cousin, had an alibi since around the time Van Zanten vanished, he had been pulled over by the police for intoxication. Subsequently, Robert Hansen, a serial killer who confessed to 17 killings between the 1970s and 1980s, refused to take responsibility for her demise. At the time, 2 serial killers were operating in the area. Was Beth Van Zanten the victim of one of them? Or is there a solution to this crime a bit closer to home? Beth Van Zanten's lonely death is still a mystery. No one has ever been charged with this offense, much less imprisoned. There are 3 suspects. Robert Hansen, a convicted serial killer, confirmed psychopath Gary Zeger, who is also a serial killer, and Beth's cousin Greg. Let us examine each one of them separately. Cousin Greg. Greg had the highest point for opportunity in the traditional criminal investigation triangulation of motive, opportunity, evidence. He shared a bedroom with Beth, and they both resided in the same house. The idea that there was a relationship between them was hinted at, but it was never sufficiently proven. The best information in terms of the evidentiary dimension was Greg's request that Beth watch the children for his friends the night before she vanished. Greg's inability to be credibly placed anywhere other than downtown Anchorage, high and inebriated with his cousin and their friends, is the problem. It is also important to note that Anchorage, Alaska State Trooper Walt Gilmore watched Greg closely in the years that followed, but Gilmore never discovered any more grounds for concern. Robert Hansen. Between 1971 and 1983, at least 17 women were kidnapped, assaulted, and killed by serial killer Robert Hansen in and around Anchorage, Alaska. Using a knife and a rifle, he stalked his prey in the woods. After being detained in 1983, he received a 461-year prison term. 2014 saw his death from natural causes. Gary Allen Seeger. In the early 1970s, serial killer Gary Allen Seeger prowled the streets of Anchorage, Alaska. He was thought to have killed 6 or more individuals. Seeger was also implicated in the double murder of a wealthy couple and the theft of dynamite. Since he was shot and killed by an unidentified assailant in 1973, he was never found guilty of any of his crimes. Seeger was characterized as a thin man wearing horn-rimmed glasses who was in his mid-20s. In Anchorage, Alaska, he was laid to rest. Walter J. Gilmore was tenacious and he never dismissed any suspects. He co-authored the book Butcher Baker, The True Account of an Alaskan Serial Killer. Most believe the killer was Robert Hansen. To honor each of his victims, a movie was produced. The film is titled The Frozen Ground and features Vanessa Hudgens, John Cusack, and Nicolas Cage. The film ends with a dedication to the victims, listing each one with a picture and the date. We may never know who killed Celia Beth van Zanten. What do you think? I thank you all for the continued support, and I wish you a Merry Christmas. Tell me, what are your Christmas plans this year?